have a lot. I have lots of rejections in life, and I'm sure everybody has. And most importantly, I'm sure at the other side, all of you all are webinar fatigued because webinars have been going on, Zoom meetings have been going on. So our first aim for today is to make sure that all of you don't reject us. And hopefully you don't get bored with us. So welcome everybody. My name is Laeeq. I'm a fellow YLC member, a brand consultant by passion, and an entrepreneur who was ever ready to get rejected. So rejection, it's a big word, right? And I'm sure almost everyone on the Zoom call today would have faced some kind of rejection in his or her life, be it personal, be it professional. We all have a story to share on rejection. And most importantly, we have stories of how we've probably bounced back from these rejections. So here we have two great personalities with me who are going to share their stories of rejection and most importantly, how they've bounced back from these rejections. So the first person is Anusha Shetty. Anusha comes with over 20 years of marketing and advertising experience, again, transnational careers across India as well as the Silicon Valley. Anusha is the co-founder and CEO of Autumn Worldwide, a hyper-specialized digital marketing firm. And in October 2018, the GreyGroup, a WPP company, acquired majority stake in Autumn Worldwide. And as of January 2020, just before COVID, Anusha has been promoted as the chairperson and group CEO of the GreyGroup India, which also includes both Grey as well as Autumn Grey. So welcome, Anusha. Thanks for taking time out and being here today amongst all of us. The second.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute.
Okay. You're welcome. The second speaker we have is Ambi Parameswaran. Ambi is the founder of brandbuilding.com, a brand advisory, a veteran in the space of advertising, branding, and marketing with a career spanning 40 plus years. Ambi has handled assignments across various kinds of challenges in marketing, advertising, sales. He's worked with Rediffusion, DYNR, Boots Company, UDI, Yellow Pages, and FCP Ulka. I think that's where he spent majority of his time. And he has so many rejection stories that he decided to write a whole book on it. So Ambi, welcome. Thanks a lot for taking time out and being here today. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Laeeq. Thank you, Anusha. And thank you, Rajni and Aima, for giving me this opportunity. Great to feel young again. And you young people have not rejected me. That's a first feather on my cap today. Thank you.
Awesome. I've managed to get a copy of the book which Ambi's written. And I have to say it's a very interesting read with a lot of stories. And if you've not got a copy of it, just log on to Amazon and you will find it there and you can buy it from there. So before we start off the session, I hope some of y'all have responded to a Google form which we sent out to y'all, where y'all sent in a lot of interesting rejection stories. So we'll pick some of them and then see how we could converse around the same thing. But I have one request to all of you, because majority of them have not replied to those. So I want to make this session as interactive as we can. So I want you to share your rejection stories. Most importantly, if you've got stuck somewhere with those rejections, I want you to share those. So that becomes conversation point for us during the course of the entire session today. We are ready to be vulnerable and sharing our stories today. And I want all of y'all to be vulnerable too. And we know vulnerability is the start point to greatness. So start being vulnerable. It's going to be fun. Share your stories so we can learn from each other, and we can hopefully figure out how to spring back to success. So, Anusha and Ambi, I want you to go back some years, and some of your early years. It could be as a student, it could be start point of your career. Share with us some rejection stories of and how that incident has shaped you, and how you bounce back from them. So share one each of your experiences.
Anusha, you want to go first?
Okay, happy to go first. Um, must talk about this. It's actually a very personal thing, and I've never spoken about it earlier. But I guess I should, because I'm sure if I've learned something from this, there is a learning from it for everybody out there. Just to quickly introduce myself, I worked with multiple companies before I started a company. So in 2005, I turned entrepreneur and I started an agency. Right, this company was called Autumn. In the initial days, we did a lot of creative outsourcing for global markets. We also did a lot of brand consulting work for India. So that was broadly the kind of work we were doing until 2009, when we became a specialist digital marketing firm. Now I'm talking about a story between 2005 to 2009, really, when my team was probably only around 20. We had around 22, 23 people, really. That's the kind of a team we had. And being an entrepreneur and being this whole passionate person, I obviously worked for many years before I turned entrepreneur and come in. And we were doing extraordinarily well as a brand consultant. We'd launched multiple brands in India. We were doing well, right? There were three who I call leads in the account management space, business with me. And all three pretty much grew with me in those first 5-6 years. And together I thought we were rocking it, and we were growing. Every year we were growing really well, and it was a nice feeling to see that kind of growth, really. So I decided to kind of scale up on my business model, start offices everywhere, and I want to do bigger things, really, to accelerate our growth. So I remember taking this team, right, this 3-member team. And I don't want to name them, but I took them to this place called Sunny's in Bangalore for lunch. And with this whole, passion and dream and vision of wanting to grow the company and doing larger things, I shared with them my vision, and acknowledged the importance of them in my life. Told them that I'm dreaming of, each of them doing and leading specific verticals and geographies. So I did this big spiel, and they were all very loyal to me. They were very good people, so there was no issue at all with them, really. And I did this big spiel, and I thought they would be the most excited lot at the end of it. They were a little cold at lunch, and I thought maybe that they didn't know how to handle such amount of praise and compliments and vision that I had for them, that I had drawn out. And I came back to the office after this lovely lunch and all that. And slowly, one by one in the evening, they trickled into my room to have a chat with me. All three of them were planning to quit, and they hadn't broken the news to me as yet. All of them had picked up offers, and they were planning to quit. And I had no clue about it, really. And it was something that they had made up their mind on, and they didn't want to change their mind about it. Here I was throwing them a dream I thought was a lifetime of a dream, and all three wanted to move on. I was hurt. I was completely rejected because, one, I didn't think anybody could reject me to start with. And two, it wasn't something I could come to terms with. So I know that I was in a state of depression, if I can use the word, because it was a time that I didn't want to get up in the morning and go to office and face anybody, because in my life, I had already built something so beautiful. And my entire team had come crashing, literally, because we were only 3 guys and the rest of them were really kids in the group, really, right? It took me a few days, I want to be honest, to come to even terms with something like this, acknowledge it completely in the heart, and go back and say, I will build a new team all over again, and we will start all over again, and it can't be so bad. And we did it. And we went on to being a very large company, and we got acquired by GreyGroup much later in life, and I'm grateful for that. But one of my biggest learnings out of this whole rejection that I took out was that, people do come and people do go, right? It's only fair. Everybody wants their own opportunities, and it's not you can't hold people back. If you really care for them and they've done well for you, then you need to wish them well and wish them what they want really in life, right? And that's the biggest thing. So holding them back was never the thing. But I realized one thing, that a learning like this, which came early, which is, while it was important for me to work closely with them and really work closely in a collaborative manner and change nothing at all. And I probably, with a new set of team, I would do the same thing all over again. But one of the biggest learnings I took out of this whole exercise is not to get emotionally attached with a colleague and a team member. Be professional about it, enjoy each other's companionship, wish them well, but don't become emotionally dependent and such that it burns you and destroys you, that you're not able to pick yourself and pull yourself up to face the world all over again, right? uh, but a rejection I will always remember. It took me a while to get over it and to actually find people and rebuild all over again, really.
This would have been one of your biggest first rejections in your entrepreneurial journey?
It was my first big rejection, honestly, because coming from large agency experience, and I was going to brands and I was going to be their client servicing person pretty much, so business came easier. But managing a team, because you're a startup, you're a small company, you're not one of those glamorous big companies with a big brand name. Holding employees and team members back in your team was a very difficult thing. I still remember this one guy who said he wants to quit me because he wanted to get married. I said, where's the connection? He said, no, I won't get a girl if I tell them I work with Autumn. I want to work with Infosys. So that was his answer. So uh, uh, managing my team has had lots of learnings, and this was one of my biggest rejections in my early days, really.
Awesome. Great story. Ambi, over to you.
Okay. Like you said, like I've written a whole book, but let me, when I talk about it, I'll say that the book doesn't contain only my rejection stories. I mean, I do have a lot of rejection stories to share, but the book contains a lot of rejection stories which I picked up talking to people, and I'm more about it when I talk. So let me talk about, Anusha asked me this, tell us a story which is not there in the book, and which is after your life in advertising. So when I got out, and I said, I will not sit idle, I will have my own so-called boutique practice. I thought my old clients and friends will just come lining up and calling me. No one came. Absolutely no one came. And in fact, the people who called me were actually total strangers, absolute total strangers. I mean, someone whom I've known from my old days said, look, I'm starting something. Can you help me? I was casually having coffee with a professor who said, look, can you come and be an adjunct? How many days a month can you do? Give us. Completely. I mean, that was not at all bargained at all, right? I thought when I go out, 3, 4, 5 of my old clients will call me and say, come and spend a day, 2 days with us. Didn't happen. Even in fact, till date, I probably worked for 26 years, 27 years in FCB Ulka, and I probably handled 30, 40 different brands, clients, etc. I don't work with a single one of them. Okay, all my clients are new. Maybe they are friends from earlier days. Okay, everything is new. So, the point is, in fact, when one door closes, another door opens. I mean, that's a lesson which all of us have to remember. There's nothing like a permanent, you don't get a permanent gift check from where you come from. So one door closes, another one automatically opens, Only thing you got to keep looking out for that door. So I'm grateful that I still get, and I'm saying that, look, I get clients calling me from Bhubaneswar and Trichy and, all kinds of places, and I'm happy to talk to them. And all of them have come new. They are not part of my old client, what they call the old Rolodex. My old Rolodex is still there. I'm still friendly with them. They call me for advice every now and then. I'm willing to talk to them, give them advice, but I don't ask them for business. They're not offering me business, which is fine. Okay, so we stay as friends. I give them cold-hearted advice, which I think is good. So that's, in a sense, a kind of a rejection story. I think, Anusha, I hope I've satisfied your curiosity, because, she was asking me, tell us something after your life in advertising. So
Yeah,
I've told you that. My life.
I don't know. My belief is that as you evolve and grow and see some amount of success in life, the ratio of rejections could probably be lower.
Because you
I don't know. I don't know. But I think your ability to handle rejections become a lot better. As a youngster, you get broken, and I'll tell some stories later. You get broken when you get rejected in an interview. In early days in advertising, you get broken when you don't win the pitch. But as you go on, you know that you can't win every pitch, you can't win every client. Like you said, you can't win every colleague. Some colleagues will leave you, right? Doesn't mean they are bad, doesn't mean you are bad, right? Circumstances, right? Which is fine. And all you say is, yeah, thank you, let's be in touch, let's stay friends. And chances are they may come back. And a lot of my colleagues have left and they've come back. So that's happened in the past, right? Thanks. Laeeq, all back to you.
Awesome. I think being an entrepreneur for 20 years, I've realized saying that, okay, we don't have a choice because uncertainty and certainty has become so much like a routine now, saying that, okay, we know certainty kicks in, then immediately there is some point that uncertainty is going to come. So it's become like part of life now. I was trying to think about an early story, and that this story of mine was more like how I became an entrepreneur itself. So then I realized saying that in the year 2000, this is when Y2K and all that was kicking in, and I was personally rejected in a lot of the campus placements, and finally I landed up in a job in a digital agency at that point, more like a internet agency. I thought it was very exciting and challenging and all that, but quickly realized that I didn't enjoy any bit of it, doing whatever I was doing there. And then at the parallel, what happened was a routine catch up with some friends triggered off the need to shift course. And four of us came together and we started my first company, which is Origami Creative. And there started my journey as an entrepreneur. So I don't know, at one side you're unhappy with something and you hit a roadblock, and this is what I saw in your book where you've written some aspects saying that, okay, is your job like a dead end? The first job, is it like a dead end? I was seeing that and I was relating to that particular statement which you had put in there. So yeah, so I actually wanted you all to go back, and so Anusha told one of her very early rejections. And Ambi gave something which is new. So I want Ambi, I want you to go back and probably do, like, in your professional career or in your maybe early student life or anything like that. Did you have any rejection stories there which was interesting, which shaped you a lot?
So, Laeeq, with your permission, let me segue onto my presentation, because that has stories from my student life and from my later life in advertising. So with your permission, I think we are at that 20-minute point. So I'll take 20 minutes of your time, and then can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Just make it full screen.
Yeah. Okay. So this is just a short presentation on from the book, but there are stories which I pulled out from the book. This is not the whole book. It's a kind of a précis of the book to give you a flavor. So spring, why the title spring? Spring is, of course, a twisted piece of metal that can be pushed and pulled, twisted and turned, but it always comes back to its original shape. So that's where I got the idea of a book on rejection. And in the book, I've written how I got, who am I to write on rejection? And the idea for writing the book on rejection actually came at a speech I gave at Jagran Lake University about an answer I had to give to a girl who asked me, I'm very nervous. I'm going to apply for my first job and I'm going to face rejection. You've been very successful. You must have faced no rejection. So what can you tell me? I said, I'm sorry, my young friend, I faced enough rejections and more in my life. And I told her a story that got an ovation, and I repeated that at IIM Calcutta, and that spun off into the book. So the book is about how agile is your internal spring. How can you make your internal spring stronger? And there are probably 60 different stories in the book. Like, just to assure you, Out of the 60, probably 5 or 6 are from my life. Most of the others are from people whom I've met, people whom I've talked to. So in the next 15 minutes, I will take you through some of those stories. But first, let me set the context. What is this? What is handling rejection all about? Handling rejection is all about doing 3 things right. One is, how do you face rejection? What happens to you when you get rejected? Do you crumble? Do you collapse? Or do you face it? Anusha said a great story that, for 2 days, she could not sleep. All of us have gone through that. That's fine. That's fine. Not being able to sleep is fine, right? All of us go through that. So face rejection. Second is, after that, you process the rejection. What happened? Why did it happen? And then finally, you learn, saying, okay, this is what I should do next time. And I'll tell you a few stories on what happened. So let's talk about facing rejection. Now you talk about student days. So let me talk about this one. At IIT Madras, I was a chemical engineer. I applied those days, 1977. There was no queue of companies outside the campus, right? Placement, a few companies will come and go. So I managed to apply to Hindustan Lever. I went and sat for the interview, wearing a nice shirt. And they asked me a very simple question. I didn't know the answer. I was not a very good chemical engineer to start with. So later I discovered the question they asked was literally from the 3rd page of a book called Unit Operations. Obviously, I had not read the book very well. And I didn't know what it was. But I blew that. Anyway, fortunately, I got into IIM Calcutta. And lo and behold, exactly a year later, March 1978, Hindustan Lever was there to interview summer trainees. So I was a good student. In IIM Calcutta, I became a good student. IIT Madras, I was a second quartile, third quartile kind of student. So I was a good student. So I got shortlisted. There were 40 students applying. So finally, there were 2 students who had to go through the final shootout, so to speak. And they asked me a tricky question. I gave a stupid answer and I blew it. And I didn't get the job. And my friend got the summer assignment. At which stage I said, I'm like Anusha, I didn't sleep that night. I said, what the hell? Yeah, I'm the best marketing student on campus and I'm not able to answer this and I blew it. And I said, what am I going to do? And I said, look, I think I should rethink what I want to do this summer. Life is long. So this summer, I want to stay in Kolkata. I want to spend time in Kolkata. I want to roam around the streets of Kolkata. And let me pick a summer assignment where I can spend time in Kolkata. And the next day, fortunately, there was a little notice saying a small agency called Rediffusion was looking for summer trainees. I applied. I think I was the only guy who applied. Ajit Balakrishnan and Subhash Chakravarti were there to interview me. And I suddenly realized that this world of advertising, there is this world of advertising which has MBAs, smart people, they talk strategy. I said, hey, I will change direction of what I want to do. So I did my summer assignment. And the next year, the day before I was supposed to appear for the Hindustan Lever final interview, I get a call from Subhash Chakravarti. Are you free for a drink? I went for a drink at the Kenilworth bar, and over a drink or 2, I decided to change course and take a job in advertising. A lot of my friends were shocked, saying, look, you're an IIT and you're a top ranking student. What the hell is wrong with you? Advertising mein koi jata hai kya? I said, yaar, karna hai, kuch naya karna hai. So I went into advertising, I enjoyed it. And I then got into marketing. I spent 6-7 years in marketing and I came back to an agency called Ulka and I spent 27 years in that agency. Now my entanglement with Hindustan Lever did not end. So that story I'll tell at the end. So let me continue to the next thing which I want to tell everyone here is that use rejection to discover new directions to go in. And also remember, every rejection is not the same. Every rejection is different. Don't take it personally. Please understand the color of the rejection. And the most famous people have been rejected. And I mean, among the people who have written books on rejection, I'm not the first one, but authors have been rejected by the dozens and thousands of rejection slips. Like here is some list, right? Jeffrey Archer, all of us would have read his book, Not a Penny More, Not a Penny Less, rejected 16 times. J.K. Rowling, rejected 12 times, right? Jack Cranfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul guy, 144 times rejected. Amish Tripathi, good friend, rejected, right? Stephen King was rejected, right? And in fact, his wife was a support system and she discovered a story he had crumpled and thrown into the waste paper basket and she pulled it out and she said, this should be your novel. And that became Carrie, a multi-billion $1 million. How do they keep at it? And I think, and think authors and people in the creative business. Beatles were rejected. Seinfeld was rejected. Walt Disney was rejected. All of them were rejected. But they do it because they have the inner courage to say this will succeed one day. And they have a support system. It helps them, succeed. Let's move to another person who faced rejection. All of us love this man, right? No more. Bharat Ratna, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Some of you may know, but many of you won't, is the fact that the first time he worked on a project, the SLV-1, was a failure. On 10th August 1979, the rocket went up. It came down in exactly 317 seconds. He was racked with pain at that time. But fortunately for him, his support system included his boss, Professor Satish Dhawan. Professor Satish Dhawan said, Dr. Kalam, you stay in the back. And Dr. Dhawan went and faced the media. He took the brickbat from the media on that colossal failure. And he provided support to Dr. Kalam. And the next year, when SLV-2 was a success, who faced the media? It was not Satish Dhawan. It was Dr. Kalam. Again, Professor Satish Dhawan pushed Dr. Kalam to the front saying, this is your success, take it. So remember, whenever you face failure, when you face rejection, you have an inner critic who tells you this can't be done, you can't do it, you can't do it. We need to silence the inner critic and need to find out how to process that rejection. And processing the rejection calls for many, many, many different tools and techniques. And I'm sure some of you here are entrepreneurs, have startups of your own. We have two, my colleagues on the panel, both of them are startup entrepreneurs. So let me tell the story about a startup. This is a company which got rejected not once, twice, but by 100 VCs. 100 VCs rejected their proposal. A company called Saral Designs, they were in the news when the early days of COVID because they adapted their sanitary pad making machine into making masks. But Suhani Mohan and Kartik Mehta, both IIT, one IIT Madras, one IIT Bombay, kept going from VC to VC, making proposals, making presentations, till fortunately for them, someone they met in California told them they're doing it wrong. And that person told them they have to focus their presentation to a very different target audience. And their luck, the next 10 presentations they made, they got checks from 4 of those people. Now, today, Suhani is there on the cover of Forbes India. She appears on magazines. In fact, their company, Saral Design, was a finalist in the ET Startup Awards. Can you imagine this company 3 years ago was rejected by every VC in the country. Today, they are being called, shining stars. How? How did they achieve this? They achieved this because they found a mentor who told them what they were doing wrong. So if you're facing rejection, you need to process it differently. And maybe you can find a mentor to help you. Let me talk. There are only 2 stories of advertising, and this is an advertising story. So we were pitching for this wonderful new client who was coming into the country, right? Hyundai. Pitch was in July 1977. All of us flew down to Chennai, made the presentation. We're walking out of the presentation room. Anusha will empathize with this. We're walking out, and we're driving back to the airport. And I was telling my friend's boss, "Yaar, this didn't go well." So they said, "Haan, boss, thoda yaar, abhi theek nahi tha." So we went back, and we said, "What did we do wrong?" We didn't have any car experience. In fact, our parent company didn't have any car experience. So, and we said, look, this car business is a tough business. We cannot walk in like this with, 3 scripts and 4 layouts and try and win a car account. It's not going to happen. So we went back to the drawing board and said, look, let's start reading up on cars. And we actually immerse ourselves in cars. And in February, we got to know that Tatas were launching a new car. We met them. We got them involved in a business school competition. And then at the end of that, the client said, would you be interested in pitching for our business? I said, yes. So we pitched for the Tata Motors car business in May 1998. 14 agencies pitched for the business, 14. We were the first to go, and we won the business. As luck would have it, the agency which won the Hyundai business lost the business 6 years later, because Hyundai brought their own agency into India, which was InOcean. And we, FCB Ulka, worked with Tata Motors, and I personally worked on all the launches, Indica, Indigo, Vista, Manza, blah, blah. So we worked on it for 15 years. So to relieve my monotony, let me play an ad we made for Tata Motors, which is one of my favorites. So let me just play that ad. It will take less than a minute.
When I saw you standing there, about fell out my chair. And when you moved your mouth to speak, I felt the blood go to my feet.
Nice car.
Baby, I'd love you to want me the way that I want you, the way that it should be. Baby, I'd love you to want me the way that I want you, the way that it should be. Baby, you'd love me to want you the way that I want you.
Hello, excuse me. Can you give me a lift?
Tata Indica, more dream spoker.
This is one of my favorite ads, which we made for Indica. We must have made during my time, probably 30, 40 years. So we lost a pitch. We lost a big pitch, but we figured out, we processed what went wrong. We managed to win the next one, which was probably much better for the agency in the long run. When Tata Motors became our biggest account, something like 15 years, it was our number one client. This was the result of a rejection, right? The result of a rejection. Now let me tell a short story, which is from a city from which my fellow panelists come. This is a story narrated in Geet Setty's book. 1998, Rahul Dravid was rejected. He was not selected as a part of the one-day India team.
And we are not able to, Ambi, excuse me, we are not able to hear you properly suddenly. I don't know why.
Okay, how's it now? Hello?
It's after the video, Ambi. After you play the video, suddenly something happened.
Okay, so let me go back and let me click back. How's it now? Is it better?
It's your audio we can't hear.
No? Okay, let me do one thing. No, let me do one thing.
Maybe you can stop the screen share and then try.
Yeah, I'll switch off my camera, then it should be okay, right? Let's stop video. Okay, how's it now?
No.
It's very low, but yeah, I think we should continue anyways. You can maybe.
Yeah. Are you okay now? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, but your decibel is very low.
Oh, okay. Someone is posting some message on chat. Let me see that. Okay, those are all good questions coming up. Okay, so let me quickly go through, because I don't know what has happened. Maybe my bandwidth is, should I change the network and see?
I just think you need to log in again, Ambi. It'll be okay.
Yeah. I think that might be a better idea in terms
just
of.
Log in again. You should be okay.
Okay. I'll come back.
You can try that. And meanwhile, I want to actually. We had done very, very interesting rejection stories which came from a lot of people. Some of y'all maybe wouldn't want to be named, so I'm not really calling out the names. But if you want to reveal yourself, you can ping into the chat window saying that was me. Okay, so one person said MSIL rejected me during campus placement without interview as I had less than 80% marks. I cried for a day, studied hard for 6 months, cracked a PSU with better package and greater job security. And I'm loving my job at this point of time. Interesting. There was another one which was nice. It said, I met Sam Belsara of Madison in 89. He said, I wasn't cut out for creative and should try servicing, but elsewhere. I was extremely disappointed but not deterred. My next copy test at Spin ended up being an award winning ad, and I became creative director at Ulka just 8 years later. I don't know whether the person is here. If yes, you can just wave and claim. There was somebody else who said during my first interview in 1995, I was told they cannot hire me because I stammer. And I replied back, ma'am, my program will not stammer. I thought that was really nice.
I'm back, guys. Shall I start sharing?
Yes. Still the same challenge is there, but I think you should go on.
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me now, or is it still very bad?
Still more or less the same, but I think you should continue, Ambi. Otherwise, for the interest of time, I think we should continue.
Okay. So I've got just a few more stories. This is about Rahul Dravid, who was dropped. What does he do a week after he was dropped? And it is from a story from Bangalore. A week later, after he was dropped, he was in the Kantimira Stadium with a special coach working on building up his upper body muscle. Okay, he gets dropped. The week later, he doesn't cry. He's there practicing, right? And Geet Shetty says, this is a great guy. I mean, he was practicing harder than athletes were going to a big competition the next month, right? And so what happened as a result? As a result, he got selected in the ODI team in 1999 World Cup. Rahul Dravid was the top run getter. This happened after a rejection, mind you. So you get dropped from a team, don't curse, practice even more. That's a lesson we learned from Rahul Dravid. So we talked of facing rejection, we talked of processing rejection. Now let's talk of learning from rejection. And academics do this all the time. They get this whole process called peer review. In peer review, you get hammered. Peer review, I've also written papers, rejected, and you get peer reviewed, you get hammered. And academics tell me that very often it is a rejected paper, which when it is submitted the next time, that becomes the best paper. So someone I know shared an example that he's got 15 different papers which have gone through, various top publications, but the best paper winner is often a paper which was rejected not once, maybe twice. So remember, if you have not been rejected, maybe you're not trying hard enough. Maybe you're not trying to fly high enough. So remember, rejection is a sign that you're trying to fly higher than your capacity. And that's something which is important for us to remember. Let me come to the last story on this whole purpose of, learning and refiguring. And this story will connect back to my Hindustan Lever example. So when I moved from Chennai to Mumbai to run a part of the Ulka business, one account which I was given was Wipro Consumer Care, which had a brand called Santur. The agency had created a campaign, but the campaign had stopped working. In 93, it had stopped working. In 94, the agency said we should continue with the same idea, had a script. Client said, no, that idea needs to be dropped. You need to think of a new idea. So I was caught in the middle, and I therefore had to work closely with the client, and I figured out that I need to represent this whole thing. So I said, okay, Mr. Client, we believe in this idea. We believe in this script. Let's do this. And we'll also give you a different script. So we gave 2 scripts. And fortunately, my luck would have it, client said, okay, let's make both the films. And interestingly, the film which the client had originally rejected turned out to be a blockbuster. That gave this brand a new trajectory. The brand I'm talking about is a brand called Santur. And in 1994, when I started working on Santur, Santur is not even 1/5 the size of Lux. A year ago, it overtook Lux to become a 2,000 crore brand, right? So thinking back, maybe it was a good thing I didn't join Hindustan Lever. I could work with an Indian company and build a very, very powerful Indian brand. And in the interest of time, let me just show this ad, right? I think Hopefully the ad will play. This is an old ad and this got rejected in the beginning. But later this turned out to be a breakthrough ad because this gave us a new direction to take the brand forward.
ये खूबसूरत है, पहले कभी नहीं देखा इसे। Excuse me, कौन से कॉलेज में हो? कॉलेज? और मैं? मामी। इसकी त्वचा से तो उम्र का पता ही नहीं चलता। चंदन और हल्दी के गुण समाये संतूर, त्वचा कुछ और निखारे संतूर 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 संतूर।
So I say that Wipro's law, Hindustan Lever's loss was Wipro's gain. Turned out to be a great ride. I handled this account for so many years and it was a wonderful experience. So just to summarize, lastly, how do you face rejection? It's a simple process, 3 steps. Face the rejection, process the rejection, learn from the rejection. So the book contains 60 odd stories from 100 different personalities. Please buy it, please borrow it, please read it, please comment about it, please share it. And currently a lot of people are going through this kind of very, very depressing kind of thing. And I hope my book will be a kind of an antidote. So let me end with a quote from Nelson Mandela. Do not judge me by my successes, judge me by how many times I fell down and got up again. Right. So thank you very much, Laeeq. So I'm done with my little talk and pitching for my book. I'm sure all the participants here are going to click and buy the book. But even otherwise, thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for your patient listening. And I hope you took something out of it. If at all, just the thing, face, process, learn. Face rejection confidently, process rejection with the help of mentors if required, and learn from every rejection. Don't make the same mistakes twice, thrice, 4 times.
Awesome. So great learning, Ambi. I should say that your ad persuaded me to buy my first car, which was Tata Indica, which said more dreams per car. But what happened was my girlfriend rejected me after that. And she
the car did not reject you, so you're okay.
Anusha, I want you to reflect on the Nelson Mandela quote. And I'm also reading out another quote which has come in at this point of time, which said, I rejected a project because of its progress was not as expected. And this was a very different kind of a rejection, right? Saying that, okay, because you have set so much of a benchmark for yourself, high benchmark for yourself, that something came to you which was substandard and you rejected it. And I'm sure as a brand consultant and a branding expert, you do this many a time. We all do this many a time, right? Because we get substandard work and then we push back to our team saying that, okay, no, raise the bar. I want you to reflect on that. You're muted, so.
Thanks, Laeeq. I think this is like something, even recently I was talking about this. There are 2 things we can do as leaders who are responsible to create the right kind of value for our ecosystem. It could be even for internal stakeholders, it could be for our clients, it could be for our end consumers in many different ways. We carry accountability and responsibility of making sure that we drive the right value. And in the process, sometimes, obviously, purely because of the the experience and what works, what doesn't work, I've always believed in being honest and therefore rejected very often. I've had people walk up to me. In fact, I remember this one person who's walked up to me and said that you reject my ideas. Don't reject my ideas, I had a chat with my chief creative officer the other day on this subject. And I said, what is the right thing to do? How does one? Because there's this whole feeling that this person is getting rejected again and again. While it can drive the motivation levels down, what do you do, right? I think one of the things that we said is that mediocrity is not something that we want to encourage. In the process, as a leader, I think what is important for us is to do the right thing, right? Can we explain it right? Can we kind of give the feedback in a constructive manner so that they are able to see it the right way? We can do it all and we should do it all. right? And there are times you don't do it. Pressures of life, advertising, you're just running from one deadline to another deadline, and sometimes you don't have the time to explain it all. But you have to do it because you have to do it. You have to do what is right. And therefore, I've always stood by it, really, right? But I'm 100% sure the other person on the other side is going through this rejection and this feeling of demotivation. And therefore, it's important for that person. I do wish that this person who spoke to me, and I'm going to buy this book, Ambi, and send it to him, really. I do hope that, people do understand, learn from it, and grow, but not be in denial and stay there for the rest of their lives complaining and being bitter about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. There is Kriti Dagar whose message saying that, okay, after this great session, my quote is like, if we are accepted, then we earn more. If we are rejected, then we learn more.
Nice.
Any response to that, Ambi?
Actually, very nice. In fact, let me read a APJ Abdul Kalam ka quote. Don't read success stories. You'll only get a message. Read failure stories and you will get some idea of success.
Nice.
I'm not saying that. That's Dr. Kalam, right? So I think, someone who reviewed the book wrote this beautifully, said, we ride the waves of rejection to reach the shores of success. So if you're not, rejection is bad. Rejection hits you, right? And in the book I talk about rejection actually is processed by your brain by the same way it processes a physical pain. So one simple thing, Anusha, is, when your colleague feels rejected, he should take a Brufen or a paracetamol. He will definitely get some temporary relief. But then later he has to wake up, or she has to wake up and say, look, what went wrong? What can I do better? So even in the Santur example, the problem was, and I discovered it later, the agency had been presenting that script, which is really an aerobics class, to the client and calling it the jazz script. It was called jazz. And the client said, look, what are you talking about jazz? My customer is in Ongole, is in Nellore. What do they know about jazz? What is wrong with you fellows? You're sitting in Churchgate, you're living in Colaba, you have no idea. I said, look, it's not jazz, sir. It is health club. Health club is there all over India, sir. Health club hai. But you people called it jazz. Sorry, that was a mistake. So even that simple optics of what you call it can cause a big dissonance, in the person who's accepting or rejecting what you're saying. So, that's my little explanation.
I'm calling upon the winner of today's entire interaction is a lady named Vanita, and I want Vanita to come online and tell her rejection story to us and to the audience here, and then I want Ambi as well as Anusha to reflect on that.
Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, Vanita.
Okay, so first I wanted to thank whoever put this idea on the Twitter thread, because I think it actually got me thinking. I love participating in contests, so I said I must think and really, and I really thought that more often than not we only think about failures and not we're so accustomed to thinking about what is not going right. So flashback to when I was in MBA, and technically I'm a BSc Statistics graduate, and I was in MBA Marketing, and I thought market research, quantitative is my way to my career destination, and I got rejected by all the quantitative research agencies. Okay, so I think I'd applied in IMRB, Nielsen, and there was another smaller agency which is now, I think I forgot the name, I think it's Gartner or whatever. There I came in top and everything, but I didn't get through. Resilience of youth, of course. I was among the 5 people in my batch who didn't have a placement, but I went for a friend's wedding in Goa. I did a solo trip and all that because kuch na kuch ho jayega. And I still remember this, when I got rejected from IMRB, the person who, the Pune said there's also qualitative research department. And I'll be honest, in MBA colleges, they don't take research too seriously. So I gave me and my friend gave a hard copy of this CV to both quali and media department. Ki, theek hai. On a whim, I applied. I got through it. Hema Vishwanathan, who is heading quali then, in
Hey,
fact,
hold it. Hold it. I need to tell you this. This is too good to be true. Hema's husband, P.S. Vishwanathan, was my first boss at Rediffusion. So such a small world. Hema is a dear friend. So please continue.
I will, yes. Hema and Wish are like this my role model couple, because even after I quit IMRB, I remember both of them in the Mumbai Marathon, just cheering the runners. So I'm like, that is so Hema. But yeah, so I applied to Qual. In fact, Hema liked my answer where I said that, I had given some really good answers. Like I took a solo trip to Goa, which impressed her because Qual has a lot of traveling. I told her something like I believe in and not or. Net, I got through PQR. That was called then Pro Qualitative Research. I traveled to around 30 to 40 cities on research from Varanasi to Madurai. And net in the next 2 years, because I used to save up all my miles, I managed a free ticket to Paris. Within 3 to 4 years of my job. And where I went to Paris by only paying the airport tax or whatever, in those times, there in the office, I think still it is next to the Ulka office in Churchgate. I've come there with 8,000 rupees tax. I've gone to Paris. And so yesterday when I wrote this story, I was thinking sweet rejection indeed. And yes, that's my story of Qual. And incidentally, I post IMRB, I worked in Interface, which is a part of FCB Ulka. So though we directly never interacted, we used to have these brand review presentations where, Ambi used to be part of along with AK and others. So yes, that's my just my interaction with Ambi has been in those hallowed conference rooms at FCB Ulka in that sense. But yeah, so thanks so much for making me reframe a rejection in a positive way. That's just given me
awesome. So your rejection story is won you something again. So it's a double whammy, So
yes. I said I have to participate in the contest. I used to participate in a lot of radio contests before, and I was like, okay, I want to get this book. And yes, I think it's a good day for me. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Do you all have any reflection, similar stories, Anusha, from your end? Do you have any similar stories?
I think we should take the opportunity of asking for one more of those stories from the audience if they want to share.
Is there anybody who has an interesting story like that? I have one which is here, which I want both of you to. Subhash Chaturvedi. Subhash, are you here? Rajni, if you can, please. Yes, I think
Ashok Kumar is also.
So can you unmute Subhash Chaturvedi?
I have.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I served around 21 years in the corporate and took a decision to start my own business in the year 1996. At that time, so many buyers who has earlier promised to support me, they were reluctant to do so because they don't want to switch over to me for their regular supply, keeping in mind that I may go back to the profession and I won't be able to continue since I served a long in the corporate. So corporate culture is different than the business culture. So it took me around 6 months to 1 year to establish me into the market.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
From that, Ambi and Anusha, similar instances I'm sure you would have gone through. Do you all have any advice, any tips in terms of?
No, I think you just have to believe in yourself. I remember that after working for almost 10 years, I quit to start the company. everybody, including my parents, thought I was crazy. Nobody, because I also come from a family full of professionals, and the community I come from, we don't do business, we work, and we're all professionals. My brother's a professional, my father used to be in Unilever, so we're all professionals. So people thought I was crazy, but you just have to believe in yourself, because in my mind, I had to do what I want to do. And if I fail or if I don't do well in it, I'm okay with it. I will go back to a job, but I want to try. So you'll have to do what you have to do and not allow any of these things come in your way. And that's really my belief. And finally, I did quit to start my own company, and very small, but I started it. And I'm so glad I did it, because the experience that I have being an entrepreneur is something that I can't ever replace in my life, really. So, yeah.
Awesome, great. I want you to. There's one question which is the favorite topic of today, today's times, and we discussed this briefly in our interaction too. Do you all have any thoughts on the Tanishq ad controversy?
Well, I have. Yeah. So I think I have. I think there are 2 or 3 people who want to ask questions. So let me quickly answer this. I think Tanishq, there is a hell of a lot which has been written about. I've discussed this in great detail with Govindaraj Itraj on a program called Boom Live. Myself with Harish Bijur and Govindaraj Itraj. All I can say is, in fact, you should read Arun Mehra. Mr. Mehra has written a wonderful piece, I think, in yesterday's Economic Times, where he says it's a bold company to do an ad like that, and today you're blaming that company for withdrawing the ad. Now, that's unfair, right? It's unfair to say, you make an ad, withdraw it. Why did you withdraw it? But the fact is, and I believe maybe they misread the mood of the nation, and which is what I talked about, I've written about, saying, look, all of us, I was talking to a friend of mine in Chennai today. People are depressed. People have been cooped up. People have been depressed at this time. Even a small spark can create a major outrage. Maybe, if at all, I will say maybe Tanishq did not read that. And the other thing, I think they put it out on YouTube. They should have put it out on TV. Okay, if they put it out on TV, then everyone sees it. Not just the trolls, the lovers, the brand lovers, the brand loyal. Everyone would have seen it one shot. And maybe it would become bigger outrage. But I think the positive voice may have drowned it out. But that said, I think it was brave of them to do the ad. And I think it was sensible of them to take down the ad. And I hope that in January or February, when tempers cool down, they will bring the ad back in a new form. So that's my, answer to that question. Laeeq, thank you.
So you have any different point of view on that?
I have a different point of view that, having withdrawn the ad, and I'm not going to comment on that about whether they should have or they shouldn't have, but I can tell you that by withdrawing the ad, they have had more visibility than they could have ever had with all their media monies behind it, really. I think they must have reached all their reach milestones, even with the withdrawal. And it's a statement I want to make on this whole thing, really. With lesser money spent.
Good show.
So,
good show.
Interesting strategy that way. So it's 6 o'clock, and we would like to respect everybody's time and close on time, because this is meant for 5 to 6. And there were many questions which is coming in. And if you have anything to interact or get answers from the speakers, they are on Twitter, they are on LinkedIn. You should just Google them, or you should just go search for them. You will find them. Ask the questions what you wanted to ask them, and I'm sure they will be more than happy to reply to you for any of your questions. For the interest of time, I think we will have to close the session at 6 o'clock. And thank you so much, Ambi. Thank you so much, Anusha, on behalf of YLC and IMA. Thank you so much for taking time out from your busy schedules on a Friday evening. And we all thoroughly enjoyed it. A lot of learning today and a lot of reflection, most importantly. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting us, Aima. And thank you, Laeeq. Thank you, Anusha, for being on the panel. So thank you. Thank you very much, and have a great weekend. And happy Navratri, Shubha Vijaya to those of you, and happy Vijayadashami and Saraswati Puja for those of you celebrating those festivals. So thank you very much and have a great festive season.
Thank you, sir. Our pleasure. Thank you, Anusha. Bye, Laeeq.
Thank you.